Hi everyone, John and Cayleigh here at the CCC Cleveland Clinic course as we get set for the 50th season celebration of the Cavaliers. Schedule just out, Cayleigh. A lot to look at. Cavaliers getting underway in the preseason October 7th. The opener is in Orlando October 23rd. Always fun when the schedule comes out, right?
Oh, it's such a great time of the year because you get excited. It's August, you're starting to think about basketball again, so when the schedule comes out, everyone kind of gets in that mood that basketball's right around the corner.
I'm interested for the preseason. I mean, there were 4 seasons, not counting last season, but the 4 seasons prior. Preseason didn't mean a lot. I mean, there wasn't much at stake. Pretty much everything was set. You know, back at that time, there was talk, you know, let's just get through the regular season to get to the postseason, let alone the preseason. But now, hey, you know, jobs at stake, rotation positions at stake. I think those 4 games, I think 4 is about the right number, first of all, instead of the 7 or 8. But I think that part's going to be fun.
I think it's going to be really interesting because a lot of people are excited to see these young guys out on the court, to showcase Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse for the first time as well. People get a glimpse of that. So it'll be a really good opportunity for these young guys to get on the floor, show what they can do, kind of get comfortable with each other as well. And they have some interesting opponents with the Boston Celtics twice during that stretch, as well as the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, it's going to be a light October. Cavaliers, as mentioned, get it started on the road in Orlando, which is an interesting starting spot on the 23rd of October. That's a Wednesday. Home opener against Indiana, 8 o'clock start. That is a Saturday. November and December, as expected, get crowded, but that's where you start to see some of those interesting games at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, and also in terms of some vacations, Cavaliers have a pretty favorable schedule as well.
Yeah, there are 2 games in November right at the beginning that I'm really interested in. That's the November 3rd, November 5th. 2 matchups for the Cavs. November 3rd, they have the Dallas Mavericks coming into town. Luka Doncic, we saw him last season. We'll get our first look at Kristaps Porzingis on that Dallas team as well. But the Slovenian community in Cleveland, so big, they come out strong. So it'll be a really fun game. And then on the 5th, the Boston Celtics come back. Now, we see them twice in the preseason, but a lot of their roster is on that World Cup team for Team USA. So it'll be interesting to see how much they actually play during that those 2 preseason games. I think we'll get a better look at them during that 5th game.
Boston's an interesting team for me because it's one of the teams in the East you just don't quite know what to expect. At least I don't right now. You know, obviously, Kemba Walker now running the show. No more Kyrie Irving on to Brooklyn. And maybe, you know, will we see the Boston team, not from last season, but the season before, when they extended the Cavaliers to 7 games, some of those younger players back into the roles that they were in the season before? I think Boston's going to be an interesting team to see. So I agree with you. Dallas and Boston early in November. Cavs are home for Thanksgiving. That's nice.
Always nice.
That's nice in November. Home for Christmas, which is fantastic as well. But, you know, as we mentioned, December and November when it starts to get busy. January is a busy, busy month for the Cavaliers as well before February, which is beautiful in terms of some open spaces. Obviously, the All-Star break in February, but interesting mix as we get into January and February.
Yeah, the Cavs have 2 6-game road trips this season, and one of them is going to be in January. A game that I actually starred, though, coming into Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse on January 28th, the New Orleans Pelicans. Obviously, a lot of hype around that team this coming season. They have Zion Williamson. They have a young core, a lot of those guys coming over from the Lakers. They've added J.J. Redick. So this is going to be a really interesting team fighting for a playoff spot in the Western Conference. I have that game starred in particular, and then you move into February, a little bit of a weird month because of obviously the All-Star break, but February 9th, the Los Angeles Clippers will be coming here to Cleveland. I think a lot of hype will be around that game, a lot of people interested to see what this Clippers team can do. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, a lot of excitement. I can't wait to see that group come to Cleveland.
February features games with Golden State at home, this is. Golden State, the Clippers, as you mentioned, Philadelphia as well. That's another team that, you know, a lot of people are picking to win in the East. Going back to January, that road trip, 6-game road trip, middle of January, Detroit, Denver, back-to-back Lakers and Clippers. Since I've been here, we've never done back-to-back Lakers Clippers. That's an interesting little
gonna
gauntlet.
Be tough.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a run. It's going to be a bit of a run. Then Memphis and Chicago on the way back, and a back-to-back Memphis-Chicago as we come home. So not an easy January.
It's a very interesting road trip setup, to be honest.
Not an easy
Hitting
January.
every time zone, I think.
Yeah, that's a tricky little run. March has one as well. Chicago, Charlotte, Atlanta, Houston, Orlando, and and Indiana. What's that, about an 11-day trip, 6 games in 11 days? Again, we're bouncing all over the place in that one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you go into April, there's another 5-game road trip, which is kind of slid under the radar because we've talked about these 2 6-game road trips, but there's a brutal 5-game and 8-day road stretch, and it ends with a back-to-back Golden State Portland. Not going to be an easy one, especially right towards the end of the season. The Cavs faced something similar last season too, right at the end of April, where they were on the road for a tough stretch.
You know, obviously this is a young Cavalier team, and one of the things that stands out to me, when you look at the schedule, and you see all the tricky parts of the schedule, and you see what a grind it can be. When you look back to what Colin Sexton did last season, playing each and every game as a rookie, playing nearly 3 times as many games as he played in his entire collegiate career, it says something. I think it really does about what the young man brings every night, about how he seemed to get better as the season continued. And with this young roster, we'll see how this new-look Cavalier team does with this 82-game schedule.
A bright spot for the Cavs, though, they travel 35,670 approximate miles this season. That is actually the least amount of any team in the NBA, believe it or not. So if you take away anything from that, I guess that is a good thing.
One thing we do know, that on that Wednesday, the 23rd, Orlando, head coach John Beilein will make his NBA coaching debut. Looking forward to it,
I can't wait.
New coaching staff. You got to see some of these folks. Obviously, Coach Beilein, but some of the assistants as well. You were in Utah. You were in Vegas. What were the takeaways for you?
I think this is a team that's trying to implement a system. This is a coaching staff that's new. We have a mix of coaches from the college game as well as the NBA game, and JB Bickerstaff, Antonio Lang. They're coming from all different aspects of the basketball world. And I think together they're going to bring a really interesting dynamic because they're going to try to set their own system. And Beilein obviously comes in having a pretty set system that he's had throughout his whole entire coaching career. It'll be interesting to see how it's implemented here, but a very young core coming back for this Cavs team. So I'm excited to see how they build off of each other. And we're going to get our first taste in the preseason, but on October 23rd.
Yeah,
Can't wait.
Right around the corner.
Going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, right. 50th season celebration for the Cavaliers. Only a couple of weeks away. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll see you in October.